I hope it does.
I did it. I've done it. We're streaming. I've got an open window.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now all the bug girls will come into your open window.
No.
Damn, I need to open my window. Know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Oh my god, there it seems to be.
Let's go on the wiki. Yeah.
Is everything okay?
Yes. Yeah, Atsushi Okubo wouldn't copyright strike us, would he?
That might do it.
Yeah, Asano will just kill you in your sleep.
And Suishida, he would be my friend. He would say thank you for reading my manga.
Yeah, someone had to. Okay, so we're here, Arc 3. Yeah, someone kind of suggested it might be smart to say what we're reading next on the off chance someone wanted to follow along.
Oh yeah,
but we'll cross that bridge when we get to it.
When we get a viewer.
Yes, yes.
So we're doing the Kishin retrieval arc of Soul Eater. We're doing the gourmet arc of Tokyo Ghoul, and we're doing
I find it very funny that you got the Tokyo Ghoul.
And we're into middle school in Punpun, and the uncle is having a relationship.
And the uncle is stepping into the screen.
Yes.
But yeah, Soul Eater,
woo,
was good.
Fuck yeah, it was. God damn, I was getting excited reading those. I had to like stand up and start walking around as I was reading the volume because I was so fucking happy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, isn't this a perfect little clutch of the anniversary party? And finally, all the little things they've been hinting at come to fruition in the first really like big story arc.
It's nice that they finally get to the story.
It was shots fired. It was good in general. I feel like Krona kind of stole the show a little bit, her and Mako.
Yeah, Mako.
God damn it, Maka! I do that every fucking time. I was listening to Kill la Kill earlier.
That's funny because later on there's a gender bender thing, and Maka does become a Mako of sorts.
Yeah, Mako man.
Yeah, so
am I right?
We start with the party. I like everyone's cute little outfits in that initial bit, and I straight away I was like thinking of like stuff I really like, and I really like his characterization with everything to do with the party, where like Maka is like getting pouty because Soul won't tell her what's going on, even though he told Medusa, and then she like got him food on her plate even though he said he didn't want any. Yeah, then she dances with her dad, and that's a really funny moment when she's like, dad's like, and then I danced with your mom, and he's like, no, you danced with Sarah Chan's mom, and his dad's like, ah. And then the best part is Stein dancing with Medusa. They're trying to kill each other. I love all that shit. He's like pretending to be drunk.
I like how they're not fucking around with Medusa, you know? She's barely appeared a couple times and Stein's already ready to cut her up into little pieces.
Yeah, last stretch we ended, Stein alluded to the fact that he basically knew she was a witch. Then they sent Sid to investigate her lab in Libya.
I mean, they could have dragged this out for another 50 chapters, but they had the decency to get right into it.
Yeah, Okubo was like, fuck it. And Stein is supposed to be like some super clever genius guy, so it makes sense that he would figure out something as a foot with this nurse. And it's good.
He's like, wait, I've got this. Maybe Medusa is that snake person that we're
Greek mythology does not exist anymore.
Well, that was the thing. Yeah, Stein was in the library after they left to look for Excalibur, and he happened upon a book of Greek myths, and he was like, oh my god, it all makes sense.
I mean, it reminds me of Attack on Titan, the female Titan arc, where, as that played out, some astute viewers pointed out, there's one female character who's not present. There's literally one.
I mean, it is funny when, like, last time, like, they sense a witch, and then they turn the corner, and there's Medusa standing there on her own, and she's like, yeah, I sense the witch, too, and it's like, yeah. You don't say. Speaking of also stuff that is... Yeah, go on. No, go on.
On that topic... Am I crazy? I thought that Mouse Witch person was dead already.
That was the eldest, of the Mouse sisters. There's like 7 of them, and they said that's how the frog Erica convinced them to join, is telling them that the DWMA had killed their eldest sister. So those are all the younger sisters. They all look the same.
Oh, I thought it was one person who died. Then I thought, oh, did she split herself up into a bunch of little?
They can join together, but they are technically different people. They're like sextuplets or septuplets or something. Yeah, they're definitely sisters. It's like a family of little mouse. I think the joke is because mice have lots of kids. You know, like they're like a colony of little mice.
Rabbits.
Yeah, like rabbits, and then they can join together to make a sexy mouse girl.
I like that. Yeah, I like that Black Star dresses completely inappropriately for the occasion.
Well, he's like disheveled, sort of.
Well, he's not even like wearing the right clothes. Like, also, Death the Kid. I love how hard they're leaning into Death the Kid is just better than everyone else.
Well, he has the fucking Shinigami's son. If it weren't for his crippling OCD, like, he would be pretty up there. I mean, I
just like how on top of things he is.
Yeah,
like at the fight with Stein, he just skedaddles out of there and says, okay, I'm going ahead, bye, have fun, catch up if you can.
Oh, yeah. I like how he just grinds on he just skateboard grinds on Medusa's arrows. Like, it's no big. Yeah. Well,
I like him kicking Black Star in the face. That's a really funny panel.
Yeah, it's a good panel of him. And then he's like, "Why are you interrupting my speech?" It's like, "It's my speech." Yeah, that's great. I mean, they had a lot of great jokes with Kid and his OCD in this one. Like, I love like Drill Sergeant Patty having to shout at him to fucking move his ass because he's just on the floor puking, and then he starts scratching his head, and he's like fucking going crazy. It's pretty great, yeah. But man, we should yeah, I was gonna say, speaking of like comical stuff, it is kind of silly how Sid just like shows up next to a pillar, like cut up and singed, and he's like, guys, I have to tell you, there's a fucking witch
in the dungeon.
But it's like last time we saw him, he was in another country getting exploded. Like, did he drag his way over here on an airplane, or did he make it to the Shinigami mirror and then like teleport? I don't know. Oh, that was funny too. That was like an early appearance from Killick, who later is a much more important character. He just shows up with like a cap and is like punching the floor, and Shinigami tells him about peace. And then I can just see Okubo later going on like, I need another Meister. Oh, there was that black kid from that chapter that was just like there as a mouthpiece for Shinigami to bounce off of. I'll make him a full-fledged character, and he has 2 cute weapons later.
The Shinigami-san, he has a dick, right? Is he like a shadow blob, or is he a person under it? I'm confused.
I don't think he's a person under it. Like, I don't think that the kid has a mom. I think it's just like he poured his abhorrent energy into some sort of vessel and made him.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
I like how his mask used to be scary.
In Soli, there's a class just called like Elder Ones or something, which was like a Lovecraftian thing, and they're just like gods. And Shinigami is just one of those. So is Kishin. And other characters, and other characters that show up later. And I think Shinigami is just like a manifestation of some concept of the world. Like, he's just like a supernatural force. I don't think he has a dick. I think he can just. I don't think even his hands are just like him kind of forging his energy into a shape. He changes his face because it's too scary for the kids. He mentions later. Yeah, and I think that the kid is just him like kind of ripping a chunk out of himself and molding it into human form, and then just setting him off into the world. I don't think he's
mushroom.
A normal human. Yeah, kind of. Like, that's just the deal with those things. That's the same reason Kishin is all fucking weird. Like, he's not just a normal guy. He's like fucked up demigod.
Isn't it great how any kind of Eastern holy man aesthetic, when you use that for a villain, it always works?
Yeah, I do love everything to do with the mangled statue and all the. Yeah. I've said it before, but I love how he incorporates like iconography on the characters. Like Stein is all about stitches, Medusa has arrows, and Kishin gets the 3-eye thing, and he gets so much mileage out of that. Even here, we got an early panel where he does the fingerprint thing, and it looks really fucking cool. You have little. The fact that he even made his hair is like made out of the eye shape of the Kishin. Like each strand of his hair is like an eye.
I haven't even looked.
Yeah, like if you can see on the stream for a second, like that's a little detail that's fun. Yeah, like if you look here and you look at the pattern on his hair is just Kishin eyes. Again and again and again.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, like he really goes like all out when he comes up with like a cool symbol to represent something. It's like present in all of their attacks. Like there's points when like later when like Shinigami Kishin like blood splatters are like eye shaped like eyes and stuff. Yeah, it's great. But yeah, anyway, we start with this arc, and coincidentally, I guess the closest people to Sid were just happened to be our fucking Meisters and Stein, and also Dad managed to. His excuse is that he's the fastest at chasing tail, which is funny. Like the implication being that he chased after Medusa so fast when she jumped off the balcony that he just happened to be there. So Spirit Sama is also here, which is good because we need a weapon for Stein.
I give the author credit. I don't think this author is someone who necessarily is good at really complicated plots or 4D chess or anything like that.
I don't think so.
Them keeping things simple when they need to, I think that's nice. Like, they're not trying to make things more complicated than they need to be.
Yeah, it works. It works, yeah. I'm just making silly jokes.
Why are they fighting? Someone ran in and said, "Holy shit!" Okay, that works.
Well, yeah, they know there's been a witch going around, and the Kishin is bad news. I do like their little. It's nice they give us a bit of world building with talking about how Death can't leave the city, and the city is basically him, and all this cool stuff, and finding out the origin story of. I really like that idea of just like the like a lot of the motivations for the bad characters are just that they're full of fear of different things. Like Kishin is the ultimate one because he's just literally afraid of everything. Like later you find out more of that, but he like when he's just like normally around, he's like, what's that? Oh my god, a flower! I'm terrified. Like he's just fucking scared of absolutely everything. So of course he's like the strongest insane guy, and then Krona, this thing of like being afraid of others or how to interact with others comes up. Stein is afraid of his own like psychopathic tendencies.
He should be.
Yeah, and that shows up with a lot of the characters too. But the thing that differentiates the main guys is that they find like a source of courage, despite that. Like Maka and Black Star and Death the Kid are all afraid of stuff too, but they fight against that instead of just like trying to take the easy route of not being afraid. Yeah.
Last time, I'm given that this showed up last time already, we like completely forgot to like mention it. I don't know, like the black room that Soul finds himself in his dreams.
Oh yeah, the Twin Peaks reference.
Yeah, exactly. That's Twin Peaks.
Yeah, I love that place. It's really cool idea. I mean,
how popular was Twin Peaks in Japan that it made it into...
Well, Okubo seems to be a huge fan of lots of Western things. Like, even his drawing style seems very Western influenced. One funny one I picked up on is he seems to probably... I assume he went to some sort of art college or university, but he must have really liked when they were talking about, like, cubism and stuff. Because a lot of his designs often have, like, kind of cubist, like, elements to them and lots of zigzaggy geometrical shapes and weird like sideways faces and stuff like that. He really seems to like that. Later on there's a character that's even more like that, and when he's doing jokes he does that a lot. even Krona's like annoyed face is kind of like that, where her mouth is like sideways and one of her eyes is open and closed and shit like that. And he's always referencing Western music and movies and shit, like Blair Witch, haha.
Hey!
So Green just got that one. Yeah. So
yeah, I also noticed. Fuck.
God damn it!
And it's so obvious that one can only miss it.
Yeah. Yeah. And Soul is a kind of music.
Yeah,
too.
it's a really good. Like, not only just the fight between the two is really good.
Yeah,
like
so
between
it's
Mako and Krona.
but
I really love the internal stuff. That's like the best part.
Speaking of, yeah, it's been great. Like that's a fun little addition he really made to the story, was this idea of like delving into each other's souls and sort of representing that visually. He kind of had that with Tsubaki and the Devil Sword earlier, but it hadn't really come up that much, and now here we get like various versions of that, and it's really cool.
Yeah, it's very Psychonauts.
Yeah, I like also how, like Green was saying, it doesn't have very complicated plots, but actually like everything is very logical in terms of how they approach the fight. Like I enjoyed. Yeah. I mean, Stein is supposed to be like a genius, but I like his battle plan as being very like each him and Medusa's battle plans are very simple but effective. Where they Medusa sets up all these roadblocks, and Stein basically is like, okay, we need to not get bogged down in these fights, but some of them will be unavoidable. But what matters is stopping the black blood. So he sends them off in different units. It's kind of fucked up that Maka, like,
the Maka fucks over the plan.
Yeah, I do. I mean, it's not necessarily true that if she hadn't done that, they would have been able to stop it. Like, I mean, for all we know, Black Star would have lost to Krona, and then Krona would have come after the other two that were running anyway. But yeah, it's interesting anyway, and it really does. It really does work well for like interesting fight scenarios where the characters don't necessarily have to beat each other; they just can run away from each other. And there's like interesting combos, but yeah, obviously the big highlights are the two big fights that we get, which are both great.
And also just like Maka defying the order also just works for a character. Yeah, like it's not the thing you would expect.
Really, it's also sort of and it's also sort of presaging how she's gonna tap into that chaotic energy in a bit with the fight itself. It's just hard to choose which thing to focus on because they bounce around all the scenes simultaneously, but I guess
talk about whatever.
Well, I guess I will say my big highlight I was waiting for was the fight between Krona and Maka, because I distinctly remember like that's when I watched the anime as a kid before I read the manga. That's when I like fell in love with it, was when she goes fucking insane and starts biting Krona's head and shit like that. I love that fucking 2-page spread so much where Maka is like standing on her scythe and her coattails are like 20 feet long. They're blowing.
The side I read it on fucked that up, but whatever.
I saw. Yeah, I was just looking at the volume, but yeah, I mean, it looks really good, like together like that. God, that's a good looking fucking 2-page spread. Yeah, it's so cool. I love how much of a slugfest the fight turns into. Like there's so many.
Krona gets punched and kicked in the face so
Krona
much.
Krona gets her face like rammed against the scythe and dragged along the length of it. And it's really fucking cool. It's really awesome.
How fucked up it is, how fucked up.
Yeah, well, it's so funny because they're like immune to the damage, and then there's Maka gets like fucking a sword to the head, and then fucking she pushes the sword against Krona's throat and kicks it into her throat.
Yeah, that's cool. That's like my favorite moment.
Yeah, that's like that has his choreography is so fucking like impactful and just like so punchy in like a really good way. Like there's really just like there's simple things, but like most authors don't give thought to that in their fights. They're like, just kind of like jump around and slash at each other. It's like just having simple things like Krona, just like the way he thinks of it. It's like Krona stops the scythe with her hand. The cut from her hand, she shoots a spike out of that. When Maka dodges it, another spike comes out of her wrist cut from earlier. And stuff like that. Like, Maka pins her against the blade and is punching her in the fucking face, and then
I like when Maka does
her.
I like when she does the scythe spin, and it kind of follows the arc of the light of looking at it, so it makes a 6, even though the scythe could never make a 6 in real life.
Yeah, that is funny. It draws a 6 and then it draws a U, and she names the attacks after that.
I didn't notice. Like I'm for one, parts of the translation I read, the early parts were pretty shitty, and I was wondering why is this attack called this way? I didn't even notice that.
Oh yeah, it's shaped like the attack itself is shaped like a 6, the Witch Hunter, and then the other one's shaped like a U. And I love Krona just like I said before, I like all the characters are always like spouting their stupid catchphrases and nonsense while they're fighting. So Krona's just like getting afraid and being like, "What do I do?" And then Ragnarok's like, "Kill him," and I'm like, "Oh yeah." And then Krona like starts wailing, just going like, "No, no, 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 no," and like attacking Maka 50 times. She's like slashing Soul to pieces, like in the middle of the fight. Like, it's such a fucking good fight. And then Maka's like embarrassed at her behavior when she's gone insane, and she's like licking her head and biting it. That's really good. And then we get the fucking really like touching fucking moments of Krona's first of Krona's childhood with the analogy for the bunny rabbit. I remember that so vividly. And then I just love that entire sequence. The art style changes to be like all cutesy, and they're in the sand. That stuff's all great. Won't even talk to her own shadow.
Yeah, they're very
pass.
They're very adorable together. The way the art style shifts and draws them kind of stumpy and abstract. That was very cute.
When Maka shows up, there's like a little text box that said just that Maka-chan appeared. Fucking crosses into the line and dusts it off. It's so satisfying.
That makes Krona go a little crazy.
Yes, it does.
We all do.
That's also like a classic badass moment. The same way of when we saw Black Star getting hit in the head over and over. It's like Maka just walking toward the blood spikes and getting stabbed, and then falling on her is great. Oh, there's the panel I was thinking of. The throat kick is so good. I just love everything about the fight. I can't recommend it enough. It's great. I love that 2-page spread of both Ragnarok and Soul fucking screeching as the black blood takes effects, and Maka also says my blood is black. Like, it's like pottery. It rhymes. Yeah.
One of my favorite parts was right after, where when Krona kind of has her little breakthrough. I was looking at it. I was just thinking of the timing, going, okay, if Krona is either good or at least not actively against the main characters in this moment, how are they going to progress the scene? Because is Krona just going to turn around and say, "I'm on your guys' side now"? That doesn't seem right.
Yeah.
But then she had the back and forth with Ragnarok, where she's having this internal battle, and he's like lifting her skirt for some reason,
bullying her.
And I like that because they managed to nullify Krona in a way that didn't feel forced.
Yeah.
Where it's, okay, just because she's over what her problem was at that exact moment, it doesn't mean she's okay in general now. She's still fucking crazy.
Yeah.
She's not a whole lot of help, but she's just not. It's a reason for her to not be involved, but also not be too easy. So.
And it wasn't just like a 180 thing where she just betrayed Medusa, because they put in there that the Krona kind of knows that them having to revive the Kishin means that her mom already sees her as a failure and is probably going to discard her. So she's already kind of expecting that. That's a funny 2-page thing, 2-panel thing where it's like Krona gives this really determined face and he's like, "You guys go ahead, I'll hold him back." And then immediately the next panel is the skirt being pulled up and he's like, "No, you pervert." It's like, they're just like, "Oh god, now we have to deal with this fucking nutcase, like we don't have enough."
Yeah. That's great, because their reaction is,
there's like, it's a totally
it's a totally non-contrived way to kill the momentum of Krona helping, because they're not upset or scared. They're just, I just don't want to be involved in this right now.
I just see Okubo as like completely different to like Suishida. I see Suishida as like someone who is very passionate and has like lots of interesting thoughts and inspirations, and he tries really hard, even though sometimes he doesn't really have the skill set for it, and he's kind of starting a bit later than other mangaka, and he's a very like hardworking struggler. I see Okubo as just like a complete natural, just like to him it just comes effortlessly. Like, I think it's almost second nature to him to just put those kind of nuanced things in. That's just how he imagines the characters would act, and same with like his art style. Just all feels so natural to him. I think he's like kind of an Oda type, where he was just meant to make manga, and he's just that's just his DNA. It's great. What else did I enjoy about the Krona fights?
Nothing.
Okay. Well, what about meanwhile, we're getting the cool Stein Medusa fight. Yeah, that one's also. I mean, he's the.
I remember loving that fight in the anime, but just like reading the manga again made me realize how much I liked the versions or the adaptation that the anime was at that point.
Yeah,
it was just
it's a great.
I think I might even like the anime more than the manga. Like,
I mean, it's adapted. Well, there is something undeniable about just like fight scenes being animated. Just makes them really pop in a way that
but for me it's like fairly rare that an anime manages like Soul Eater is great as a manga already, and then the anime just manages to be even better than that.
Yeah, like, it's a shame it diverges. But yeah, the fight scene here is great. He's just so good at like coming up with like a handful of mechanics that are in play, and then he doesn't really need to heap anything else on. He's just like, okay, Stein has the scythe power and the kind of like soul shockwaves we've seen before, and here he adds the stitches thing. That's it. And then Medusa has the kind of arrow projectiles, and she adds the little vector plates, and that's enough to make a really cool fucking fight scene. Like, you're just like, he just does like every variation you can think of. She uses the things to throw herself. She uses them to throw Stein around. He uses stitches to keep himself in place, to keep her in place. Fucking like every little thing. It's and their banter is just great. Where he's just like Spirit is just being reminded that like he's a bit of a psycho. The fucking Stein is just a psycho who's just a bit rusty, and the way of him finally defeating her is just to remember, oh yeah, I just want to dissect people for fun. And it's just like, why did you come over to this side? You're clearly a bad guy. And he's like, no, listen, I have already wrangled with this.
that was so weird. His arc is, I want to do bad things, but not have the guilt of doing bad things.
He basically forces himself to believe in a god, which is Shinigami, which is like, believing. Obviously, Shinigami is like a real life god who exists, but believing in him would be different than believing in the traditional god, because he's just a guy who kind of goes around. Like, you could still believe in like a higher thing. It's just like he just convinces himself forcefully of Shinigami's authority and right, so that it'll stop him from just being a murderous people who likes to disembowel people for fun. But yeah, that fight's really great and intense. And man, it has so many great pages. Like I don't know if I just want to like skip it. Oh, I love that bit where Spirit just comes out of scythe form to fucking lash out at Medusa and cry in her face about how bad of a parent she is. And the ending is just perfect. Like, I love that fucking 2-page spread when he slices through her. And it's just so perfect that he uses the exact moment when they're distracted by the quiche and he's laughing out loud. Like, that's a perfect page turn. He's going like, yeah, haha, super loud. You turn the page and it's this fucking amazing, like...
The art style change.
Yeah, the art style changes into like almost like pointillism sort of thing. It's like with little lines, like very like cubist kind of looking, or one of those art movement sort of expressionist thing. And then just that great thing of him lighting a cigarette, and their blood rain is made out of her blood rain is made out of little arrows. Like, that's how hard he goes with like the symbols. Like, there's arrows falling out of the sky, and he lights a cigarette and stretches his arms out, and he's like, I feel so fucking good, but we lost. It's great. Yeah. It's so amazing. Green, you probably like that, didn't you?
I did.
Yeah, it's awesome. And then that's a great moment at the end. I love when she latches onto him, bites him, and then she says, "Hey, I love you." She does a little cute titter and says, "I love you," and then it's like the most gruesome panel of her fucking face with a fucking scythe through her forehead, and she laughs herself to death. And you're like, Jesus Christ, she's such a fucking monster. I like the touch that she calls Stein a brat, even though, like, at this point, people might not even realize that witches are like, most of them are hundred-of-year-old monstrosities who are been around for a long time. Like, that's why she calls him a brat. She's way older than him. It's also she's also a really cool interpretation of a witch, where like you expect them to be more like Erica or Blair, where they just float around and shoot projectiles. And Medusa's like this weird, fucked up, close range kung fu witch.
Yeah,
it's really awesome. Yeah,
like when the volume or the arc ends with the snake,
the little snake
out
in
of
the sewer. Yeah.
I think I'm trying. I don't remember everything that happened in the story, but I assume it implies that Medusa somehow survived, or at least.
Don't you remember little tiny lolly Medusa?
Barely.
No.
Yeah.
I mean, after you said it, barely.
Green doesn't, but yeah, you should. Yeah, she's coming back. I mean, that was funny too. That ended with that, and then Tokyo Ghoul ended with like the hand twitching.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, that's
Which,
just...
like the first time I read it in Tokyo Ghoul, I didn't even notice it because the finger twitch is just so small on the page.
It was just a thing of me also being like, well, why would he put it twice? There must be a difference. So it was just me spotting the difference after a bit, like a few eye shifts afterwards. I was like, oh yeah, there we go.
What do you think about the final hallucination? Like, I kind of sort of dislike that little...
It's a bit of an ass pull.
It's not an ass pull, it just doesn't quite work well.
It doesn't make a lot of sense compared to the previous hallucinations we've seen, where they were kind of more one-to-one.
Are you talking about Black Star?
We're talking about Black Star slashing the statue in half instead of the syringe. Yeah, the explanation also doesn't really make a lot of sense, where it's like Death the Kid is like, oh, he kind of tapped into his sixth sense because he was so serious that it actually worked against him. I mean, I'm happy. I'm happy ultimately with the result being that the villains do succeed, and it becomes the impetus for the rest of the story. I think that's really cool. I love that segment. I love that they go into that temple and he shifts the panel. The space around the panels of the comic he puts screen tone on it, so it's all gray in there, and it's like this.
I also absolutely love that one panel that's like the super Dutch angle, a warped, almost fish lens thingy of the corridor.
Yeah, that looks like really fucking cool. I know exactly the one you're talking about, like with the pillars. Yeah, that's awesome. That and it's great hype up for like the Kishin. It's like everything goes silent. You have the fucking fucked up sequences of Erica getting her fucking face bitten off and free too, and then they're fucking killing themselves with a sword. It's like, Jesus, what the fuck? And then
can you forget Tadpole Jackson?
Tadpole Jackson.
Oh yeah,
I love
Tadpole Jackson.
Yeah, I love the. I guess I should have covered Free versus the Death the Kid first, but that's not...
I mean that's the least interesting part.
That's just a goofy. I love that Death the Kid stops to tell where all the pillars were connected before they got destroyed, and then he walks into Free and he's like reprimanding Black Star from inside of him. He's like pointing at the thing. It's also funny how Black Star doesn't notice that he was a hologram because he just assumed he was that strong that he would cut through him and not feel anything. That's funny. And I like that panel when Tadpole Jackson passes the syringe and Black Star kicks him, and Erica, there's like a little panel of Erica like, Tadpole Jackson, no! And then she's like, this isn't for Medusa, this is revenge for Tadpole Jackson. Injects him with the black blood. And he did such a great job with that sequence of the Kishin like slowly stretching into his own skin.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything like this.
No, like it's amazing that he just pulls that out. He's like fucking rubbing against the floor. He pulls the skin, like stretches it, and then he makes scarves. And then the first thing he says is like, "I'm naked. I need to get more layers on. It must be nice to have muscles." And Free is like, "Do you mean me? What?" That's the fun.
What are you talking about?
Well, Kishin is hilarious whenever he shows up because everything he says he's afraid of stuff, and then he just makes like inane remarks because he literally is like the manifestation of madness. and then whenever he gets serious, it's like really fucking scary because like, oh Jesus, this is like a fucking demon.
Like lots of fighting of people's faces.
I remember that so well from the anime that like they do like a back and forth where he just like goes up to Erica and starts screaming in her face again because he's scared of her. He's like, what the fuck is that? Ah! He's screaming in his face like, what the fuck is this thing? Yeah, just great. That's really fun. That's really good, like foreshadowing too. At the very beginning of the arc, Kishin mentions that Ashura ate his own weapon because he was afraid of it, and then later he fucking comes out of his mouth, and it's like his ultimate move, where with Vizra. It's it's also hilarious that Shinigami Chop the whole time was an actual serious move. Like, what we thought was just the silly joke thing is like a super powerful attack from Shinigami. Green, did you like when, not to jump around, but I was reminded of it because of the chop. Did you like when they're in the black room and Maka shows up in her cute dress? Isn't that a great sequence? Oh no, Green died.
I have been having a few connection issues.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Wait, what?
I was asking
you. What dress is this?
Wait, sorry?
Wait, what dress is this?
The black, like, frilly one she wears inside of the room when she's dancing with Soul, you know?
Oh yeah, that was nice.
Like she has a different outfit on, and she's like, she steps on him with heels, and you're like, I'll let you take the lead.
That conversation is also like really
that conversation
good.
is great. She's just like, I don't mind the madness if we can somehow connect with this. Like, yeah.
Also, minor point.
Yes.
Her stepping on Soul's foot is I don't even know if that's intentional, but that calls back to her dancing on her dad's feet.
I felt that connection too, for sure. I think there's a lot of that in this little clutch here, for sure. Yeah, that's a nice little detail. Shinigami mentioning how he used to look a lot scarier, but it scared the kid, so he changes his face.
Yeah. And the way he speaks.
And it's also funny that like the big reveal shot of Kishin shooting off into the city, it has like a foreground element of the two girls like cat fighting with their big tits against each other. like the most epic evil thing happening, and meanwhile the dumb fight is happening with the guy who just won't die.
Like one thing that I don't know if this will ever come up again, but the mouse which was just killing random people on the street.
She just like running around slashing, and then like even Blair is like, "Oh, you killed my favorite fish guy," and then he's alive the whole time, just like on the floor bleeding. Alive, they're like, "Why won't you die already?"
I will say the stuff with Blair, not that I didn't enjoy it, but it felt a little out of place because it's so small in comparison to everything else happening, and they keep cutting back and forth between the most epic thing ever, like King Piccolo has escaped from his containment chamber, that level of serious. And then Blair is having a wet T-shirt competition, kind of.
She's having a cat fight, with the other one. They're grabbing each other's tits,
And it involves a very small number of panels as well. It was just very odd. I'm not even saying it was bad. It was just very odd.
Yeah, that just seems to be him like trying to edge his bets and be like, hey, don't worry, we still have the funny, goofy fan service stuff in here, despite it being such a serious arc.
Yeah, I was mad. I was like, okay, this is the point where there's just
mad,
no
but I was like,
apparently, I'm mad.
It was funny because it fucked with my playlist. Like I was listening to the Soul Eater soundtrack while I read the manga, and it was lining up very often, and then it was lining up really well in a fight. It was like during the Stein Medusa fight, and then it cut away to that, and it was like this really hardcore, cool music playing to the dumbest shit I've ever seen. And I was like, God damn it! I was like, I read fast that I read that bit fast to get back to the fight scene, so the song wouldn't end before I got back to it.
Yeah. I mean, we're at what, chapter 22,
yeah.
And the panty shots are just gone.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's something that goes pretty. There are panty shots later, but it's not a frequent thing like it used to be. I guess not that much to say afterwards. Ashura escapes, and it's setting up. I like how they're hyping up like that madness has kind of contaminated the world now. Which becomes a thing, which the guy doesn't forget about. Like that is a cool element, is like of that. And yeah, they're summoning all the death scythes, all the other death scythes from the world.
Yay, we get to see
Mary Jane.
Did feel a little
Justin.
That felt a little goofy to me.
Well, if you think about it, as death scythes are just people that successfully. I know. I'm just saying, death scythes are people who successfully did the thing they were trying to do at the start of the series, like 99 human souls and a witch soul. So there's a few of them.
I was just the PTSD Chihuahua a little bit, remembering in Naruto where it's like, we have to gather all the Kages and then summon all the ninjas for the war. It's like, oh, god damn it.
Yeah.
I'm sure it'll be better.
I think they say something like not all of them even show up, because they're like hunters, like a lot of death scythes and mice are just like kind of selfish assholes who just like go around doing stuff. So it's only they get a handful of death scythes. I don't think there's only like 4 or 5 in the world.
Satan is escaped and he's causing the apocalypse. But how does that affect me personally?
That was also another like interesting little mirroring there. Was Stein says how ironic it is that he won the fight because of the Kishin. Because it's also ironic that Stein only won the fight because he had Death Scythe, but that's exactly the reason why Shinigami couldn't beat Ashura, because he didn't have Death Scythe. Like it was good that Stein got Death Scythe for the fight, but then Shinigami had to fight Ashura unarmed, and so he let him escape. If he'd had his scythe, he probably could have taken a just awoken, weakened Ashura. But
fucked up, man.
There's not enough Death Scythes to go around. That's the problem. If Maka hadn't fucked up and eaten Blair for the 99th soul, they could have had another Death Scythe to give to Shinigami, and he could have used it.
Or if they killed that one guy who had the little witch girl.
Yeah. That's all. Yeah, exactly. They just murdered Mifune.
Or if they just murdered enough random people until they found a strong soul.
No, then you become a Kishin. Damn it.
Oh god damn it, that's right. I keep forgetting that.
And lastly, I was like Shinigami's little diatribe about peace, where he's like, what's wrong with getting used to peace? Everyone should be used to peace, really. It's only this fucked up world. Yeah.
Well, I think we're about done with Soul Eater. We just basically said, that was cool, for 20
I mean, that's what it was.
Oh, 40 minutes. I'm scrolling through the Soul Eater soundtrack and I'm seeing the titles for Krona are in German.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of German tracks, like the big battle. The one from the first fight with Jack the Ripper is called Krieg.
This is the one that's that's.
They have a lot of German titles on the soundtrack for some reason.
Well, there's one that is translated as like Dead Children's Song, which is pretty macabre.
Yeah. So Tokyo Ghoul, right?
Man, he's a real Tokyo fool. Know what I'm saying?
I mean, honestly, like, not even unironically. Like, I like the writing of this part less than of the previous.
I didn't enjoy this as much as the last one.
Like, staying on the fool territory, jumping like a lot in the chronology, but like Tsukiyama could have just kidnapped him after the whole Ghoul restaurant thing, and he just lets him go.
Yeah, he's like, I thought that was weird too. I was like, go on about your business. Like, they don't really explain. Just cuts to him in the cafe. It's like, how did you get there? And then it's like, I half expected him to like continue his convivial relationship. Like, I expected like Tsukiyama to like walk into the restaurant, into the cafe, and him be like, it's kind of awkward that he almost tried to feed me to a bunch of ghouls, but you let me go, so fair enough. It was very silly.
Everything up to this point does pretty well establish that Kaneki is like super naive, but still, that's.
Well, I knew he was going to have to pull something slightly silly, because as Kaneki said, like, he had no odds in that scene. Like, he was struggling against that human berserker guy, but even if you made it past him, there's like 70 ghouls in there. He was fucking toast. So Suishida had to be like, wait, how do I get him out of here? I don't want to actually kill him, the main character. Okay, I know. Like, even just the guy going down there and then being like, oh, sorry. It's like, I was like, okay, is he gonna, like, I'm surprised, it's kind of weird that the other ghouls don't all fight him for like the thing and be pissed off, like, hey, fuck you, we want to eat that guy, and we're gonna, maybe they were too scared of him because they thought he was the one eye. I don't know.
Like, also knowing like his
like it makes status. It seem like all the other ghouls in there were kind of like pussy ghouls that couldn't fight as well as the gourmet. Maybe they were.
But he did have a Kike or whatever it's called.
A Quinke. Quinque.
I think Ishida tried to do like some weird German stuff.
A Quincy, yeah, exactly. I keep thinking Quincy when I see that, like from Bleach.
I think it was inspired by the German word Klinke, which means handle.
Ah, okay.
Because they have to like switch the handle on the suitcases to activate this thing. I think that might be where it came from, and it's like in the lore.
That was a cute little.
Like the Quinke technology was created in cooperation between Germans and the Japanese, so I guess that's what.
That's funny. That was a cute little side drawing that he did of like the big brute trying to open the suitcase, and the guy has to like walk up to him and be like, "Oh, no, you press here," and he's like,
"Let's just here." And
I was a bit confused where they found a freakishly huge, hulking, bloated.
That will be explained.
Well, he seemed. Okay. I think I got the idea that he had been like a human that had been like brought up by a ghoul on purpose to be like a berserker fucking creature.
That's part of it, but there's a
like
reason
a slave or a pet sort of human to a ghoul.
Stuff like that. Yeah, that will be.
It wasn't just the. I will say it wasn't just the story that took a turn. Like his art seemed to be worse in this stretch than it was for the last one. Like it wasn't as bad as like the first few chapters, but like there weren't as many impressive drawings or panels as there were in the last arc. There were a few.
There are a few that does pretty much stand out, I would say, like the nothing in this place belongs to you and the so pretty, or however the translation.
I like the one where the guy goes très bien in the church, and there was like a really good thick outline on that and a cool angle for it. Or also when he was in the bathroom and he tasted the blood. Those look pretty cool. But there weren't
If nothing else...
Yeah.
If nothing else, I definitely noticed it seems like we're past the what the fuck panels that are so poorly composed that you can't tell what's going on. This is when I felt like we were comfortably past that.
What annoyed me
I'll give him a little credit.
Well, I don't think there was anything as good as like that panel when the girl slashed that guy's arm off in the last one. Which is funny because there was a 2-page spread of someone getting their arm cut off in this one too, but it wasn't as good. But
it's not quite as good. But the scene of like where we see like she cut his eyes, like that scene where we see the damage she did to his eyes, that's pretty good.
That was a good one. There was like what bugged me about it was that he like. There were some really good faces, but then there were still some faces that were as bad as the first chapter. Like some of those very like chin-heavy, derpy-looking people with giant ears, where it looked maybe
it's just time crunch.
Yeah, I assume it must be. I think he gets like some of his favorite panels out of the way first, and he draws them like he really works on them, and they come out really looking cool. And then he like has to make a whole bunch of them more, and he has just a few days left, so they come out looking kind of rushed. It's unfortunate, but it's something that I'm sure will get ironed out more and more. Everything progresses to like a state of balance.
The art style isn't in his, not even short in his.
No, exactly. So that's fine. Okay, but what's the focus of this arc? It's like this gourmet guy. Like there's some cute stuff with the girl living with I can't remember anyone's names because they're all just like normal Japanese names, but it's so easier when people are called Death the Kid. We get the new character, that girl, that lady.
You mean
something with I?
Oh, you mean Itari?
Wait, the girlfriend of the guy?
No. I meant the other one, the ghoul, girl.
The hostess, or rather the owner of the bar.
Yeah, that was some fun stuff, like the backstories of some of the ghouls, like the tattoo, the masked guy, and Yomo or whatever. Like that was interesting building. I like that they have these guys. That was also clever of them to clever of him to early on establish this kind of urban legend of the one-eyed ghoul going around.
Some interesting levels of informations in that bar conversation.
Yeah, because I had wondered about like human ghoul procreation earlier at a certain point, and that was interesting to flesh that out. I don't believe Suishida when he says that a liger is like way more powerful than a lion. I've never heard that. I've never heard that.
They're certainly bigger, but like
I think the Japanese just believe that. Well, ligers are pretty big, but I think the Japanese just believe this because in Dungeon Meshi, Laios says
Yeah, it says that hybrids are stronger.
Crossbred animals are always better than both.
Yeah, that might just be a weird Japanese belief because I don't know.
It kind of happens in. It kind of happens in Beastars too. Like the mangaka just believe this.
I don't know if a mule is much stronger than a donkey. Like
it is. It is. Have you ever seen a mule?
No, I have not seen a mule or a donkey.
A mule is like twice the size of a donkey. Like a mule is.
But it's not stronger than a horse, though.
No.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Like that's why mules exist. They're a nice middle ground between horses and donkeys, where they can actually pull things and do hard work, but they're not as complicated as horses.
All right. Well.
Yeah.
I don't know that much about mules, but yeah, that was
neither do I. But
that was a funny point. But Oh, I like that they brought back Nishiki. That was like one of my favorite things about this arc was them bringing him back and him being like not that much of a bad guy actually. Like when you think back to it, actually, he just seemed to be kind of annoyed at Kaneki and be like, "You're gonna eat your friend, right?" So he's kind of did like asshole-ish stuff. But I like him and his human girlfriend, and yeah, he was like this. That moment when he like grabs the guy's tie. And like shit, and he's like, "Are you a fucking zombie?" Like that was great. Like he turned the tide of the battle. That made it like believable. I was like, how the fuck are these guys not gonna die? Like this guy's really powerful, even with the girl having her wing. And yeah, if he gets a meal, but it's like, oh shit, yeah, that was cool.
I think it's like a little bit cliche that like it's the sort of typical initial bad guy like sort of. Like is explained to not be that terribly bad or like comparable at least. But what I like is that like that Ishida brought him back, and that's like a thing that he tends to do. Most of the side characters and stuff like that, they all come back at some point, pretty much.
Okay.
So they are like all tied into stuff, and they are not wasted, most of them.
Yeah.
And this backstory is kind of cool, like with a sister.
I liked the sister backstory thing, and yeah, you did feel like, you feel bad for him. I mean, I will say it is silly that's the thing with like coincidences is like, okay, I don't hate coincidences super like as much as some people do, but I don't think coincidences can ever be really good either. Like it's you're never like, oh, what a cool plot point that there was a coincidence. Like that's never good. It's like he just walks past an alley and there's 3 guys beating the shit out of Nishika, and it's like, like what? Why?
This luckily
in broad daylight.
Like the final moment of Toka randomly seeing shit or helping them, like so she can help them out, which he's done like 3 or 4 times by now.
He just like is on top of the building and just like looks and it's like, oh, there's Kaneki going somewhere
from school or something and sees them leaving or something.
They would just have gotten eaten if that hadn't happened. Like, no doubt.
Also, were they implying at one point that the accident that killed Reese?
Yeah, someone did that.
That wasn't a coincidence.
Yeah, they used them as baits, is what they said.
Off. With that bit, I'm gonna say fuck off.
That's definitely a retcon. Like, I do not think he intended from the start that it was like, oh yes, someone expected Rize to chase this guy. That like he could have just bitten his head off at the start.
I'm not gonna say anything.
Okay, fine. But just the idea seems so ludicrous that they would expect her to chase him exactly into the direction of these girders, and they would snap the cable with such precision as to land perfectly on her and kill her instantly.
But not crush the organ that's going to be transplanted.
Well, okay, but we don't know. Wait, we don't know if it was part of the person's plan to make another ghoul. We just know that they wanted to kill Rize. For all we know, they would have been happy to splatter all of her organs.
You did have us read the Rize side story bit at the end.
Yes, I read that. Yeah.
I did find it was kind of funny that she's like bulimic in a way, or she just like compulsively kills people way more than she needs to.
She just loves eating.
Yeah, that was interesting. Just her like using her cuteness to get past the fact that her house stinks of dead bodies. Yeah, multiple points.
Yeah, as well.
Yeah, I didn't know if that chapter was ultimately very necessary. Like, I don't really care about Rize.
I've been trying to forget about Rize for 20 chapters. Like, characters keep bringing her up like she was this beloved member of the cast.
I'm like, as far as I'm concerned,
battles.
Yeah, as far as I'm concerned, she's just a plot device to have. She's just the inciting.
She's more of a plot device.
Yeah, she's just the inciting thing. Like, I really don't care about her much, but okay.
Yeah. Hottest girl in the world has a fucked up bent elbow.
has a really long limbs, really long fingers for no reason. But yeah, also a big central thing in this part of chapters was the big gourmet kaiji dinner scene. It reminded me of kaiji because it's like upper class people being like, "Oh yes, let us humans suffer."
That's fair. Yeah, that's fair.
I mean, it was funny just to see the two humans you knew were gonna get murdered in kind of like over the top ways, where one of them is like,
I like that one. Like the one guy thinks the entire time, it's
a themed restaurant, and then he gets his arm. Even when he's like, even when Mongo picks him up, he's like, "Oh man, such a convincing grip," and then he's like sawing into his arm.
Yeah. I was annoyed by the conceit of the restaurant where the Tokyo ghouls are being hunted to extinction, and there's like Black Ops Men in Black type people carving their body parts out and killing them with them. Like they're living this meek and meager existence, barely clinging to life. But they somehow had the time to build a giant crazy restaurant where they have like people gladiatorial fights.
Yeah, there's like a whole like other affluent, like super rich world of ghouls too, I guess.
That's like showing that a little bit of that.
Yeah, meanwhile Nishiki comes from the slum ghoul world.
The vast majority of ghouls are like super poor and super like not well educated.
Yeah, exactly. Like they're very like the ones we met didn't know how to read, for example.
I was just a little baffled, being like, "Don't you guys have better shit to do right now?"
Not really.
That was funny too. Like, speaking of influences, I didn't get almost any Hellsing vibes from this stretch of chapters. What I got was Berserk vibes from that big executioner guy. Like, he looks like Conviction Arc torturers, and the way he draws him with like a load of cross-hatching and like covered in shadow reminded me of Zod's first appearance in the basement. Like, he really looked like him. I
definitely know that Ishida has like read Berserk, because Amon is like very clearly inspired by God.
If there's a successful mangaka that is not inspired by Berserk, then I don't want to meet them. Like that has to be the case for almost every mangaka that they like Berserk. I cannot believe otherwise. But that definitely felt very Berserk to me, the way he was portrayed. Also, I like how the gourmet is like pretentious, and so he has like a cubist art mask. Like I like his mask a lot, like the sideways mouth
that's stuff that I don't pick up.
Like that's clever.
Speaking of Berserk, when the gourmet decides to go, just kidding, I'm gonna let you go, see you later. That reminded me of the meme with Guts and Griffith, where Griffith says, like, it was all a prank, bro. You were being recorded.
Yeah, exactly. That was funny. I like. It's hard to make Kaneki seem very like badass. Like, they've had their funny moments, but that was an interesting one. Him remembering lines from books and then using that to break the guy's arm.
That's kind of how he
Gourmet is like analyzing the situation. You must have remembered it. Haha, that's my boy.
That's silly that's added.
That's silly, but it's kind of cool because it's like it's not insane. Like, you could kind of gauge a technique from a book if you were some kind of secret
I don't mean
genius.
that Kaneki learning the stuff is cool, but Tsukiyama commenting on it.
That's like. Yeah, I wonder if that's in there as like almost hedging your bets, like in case someone didn't get it from the previous. Yeah, because like you see like a word cloud, and then he suddenly grabs the guy's arm and breaks it. It's like I understood that was his book thing, but maybe not all maybe that was even the editor being like, oh, that's kind of confusing. Can you put another character reacting to that? Yeah.
Speaking of inane, out of place comments, when they start the feeding section. and the fat lady takes off running, and they go, "Oh, she's pretty fast." She turns around to the people trying to kill her and says, "Thanks, I was on the track team in high school," and then keeps running. If you were being eaten alive by affluent zombie people, would you take the time to say that?
The poison seems like unnecessary because it's like, okay, so she can run track. It's like, you're in a locked room. Like, are you gonna keep running forever? Like, eventually you're gonna get tired or fall over, and the giant, humongous dude or any of the ghouls is gonna jump down here and fucking murder you.
I think it's like part of the etiquette usually that the ghouls don't interfere with the show. But
I know, but even then, are you telling me some fat bitch who was on the track team has any chance of outrunning the big executioner
no
forever?
Way.
Yeah, like that's
I get trying to run, but shouldn't she be babbling and crying and screaming like an insane person?
She kicks Kaneki, which is like a stupid looking shot.
She's kind of an asshole.
That was also funny how he didn't really dwell on it, like. When you imagine how the horror of like someone getting their entire body pressed against the grill, she just sort of goes like erg, and then they cut away. It's like it doesn't really make it seem that gruesome. They were just kind of comical. I mean, that whole diatribe of her like, you lied to me, you said you wanted to marry me, and he's like, who would want to marry a fat pig, lol. Anyway, that is one of the better drawings of Kaneki, like the plonge shots of him like staring up and being like, I'm the meal. That was pretty good. It's cute that they asked him to shower because they want to clean their meat.
He needs to learn to be like a little more racist than he is.
He really is a bit of a, he comes across a bit of a dope in this stretch.
I mean, he's like, it's, as I said, I don't like the writing of this part much.
Also, they have to get him being able to like call out his, what is it called, his Kage Nui or whatever.
Oh yeah, that's like much of this arc, like obviously focuses on food, and one of the reasons why Kaneki pretty much sucks in both of those fights.
He just has not been eating properly.
He really needs to quit that shit too. I'm getting a little sick of Kaneki's not eating.
I'm gonna say this.
Maybe don't have to worry about
maybe
that much
I'm
longer.
a psychopath, but even if I had been a human who had been turned into a ghoul, I would not have issues drinking blood. Like, that really, to me, is such degrees of separation from, like, cannibalism that I wouldn't really mind. If someone gave me a glass filled with wine and said it was blood and I was a ghoul, I'd be happy to chug that shit down.
Maybe it's like a more fucked up thing in Japanese society to, like, think about it.
I mean, Japanese people are pretty shy about just eating when other people can see to begin with.
There's a, oh god, I'm not sure if this is current, but I know for a long time there was a big stigma in Japan about butchers, where butchers are almost treated like executioners were in medieval Europe. They have like a big taboo about cutting up animals.
I know that in Buddhism, like, butchers are considered like the lowest of the low, like in terms of the hierarchy. Yeah, like they're considered like dirt essentially in the terms of the tiers of like close to nirvana, because they're like just like considered like, you know, death mongering filth, like they go through filth and stuff. And weirdly enough, blacksmiths too, but I forget why. Maybe it's because they make weapons or something like that. But I remember blacksmiths and butchers are like at the very bottom of the list of like.
It's just anyone who does anything useful is a piece of shit.
If you imagine like a Buddhist priest near the top, blacksmiths and butchers are near the bottom. And Buddhism obviously is a big deal in Japan. So
farmers are near the bottom, but just aristocrats that shoot each other for no reason.
The farmers are actually they're actually like higher up than like the traders and stuff like that.
Farmers are considered high up. That's also I enjoy. Oh, I was trying to say about him not being able to bring out his power is like, he's kind of been saying it a bit too much, and the resolution to that I thought had already kind of come at the fight with Amon. They had already kind of gotten into that, and it felt like retrograde for him to be just like, I just can't do it, so I'm gonna make the girl bite me. The wing thing is pretty...
In this case, it makes like a little bit more sense given that she is just way more powerful and experienced than he is at full power.
But it would have been even better if he had pulled out his thing and she had bitten him. Like, they could have done both and double teamed the guy, you know, like...
Yeah, but, they should eat each other.
Eating each other? Do you mean that?
No, people don't necessarily need to bite into someone to be able to pull out their power, right? Like the reason
no, usually not. But
the reason but he can't because he's a big wuss, not because he's because
he can't because he hasn't eaten.
Oh, okay.
Because he's a big wuss.
Because he's a big wuss. Yeah. Her thing I got because she'd been eating all that human food, which was an interesting angle. Like I did enjoy that bit of like her biting the little bit from the lunchbox and then being in the bathroom chugging coffee and puking. That was fun.
Yeah, and then she ate the whole.
Then she ate the whole. Yeah, that was just insane. Like I was just like, okay, come on. Like she made it for you. Like okay, maybe take a bite, but Jesus, like there's no reason. You can just throw it out. She won't know. And yeah, I will say also having like like, is it just one wing she has or is it two?
Yeah, she has just one wing.
Okay, having one wing is like the epitome of like edgy teenage cool design for her to bring out. I mean, in a way it's fitting for her character, but in another way it's like, come on. And then it's like, it's like she like shoots it. She like the Moonlight Butterfly. She shoots out little fucking projectiles.
I did like the end where she's, you know, Toga's being hypocritical as always, and she's about to slay what's his name's girlfriend, and she's like, "Oh, you're so pretty," and then she's like, "Aw."
That's one way to get to a girl's heart for sure. Maybe the most effective. I like that too. I was gonna get like annoyed that they were gonna have to have this big scene where with Kaneki showing like standing in front of her with his arms splayed, being like, "No, don't do it" or some shit. But no, that was clever.
I think it was Nishiki. I think was doing that.
Well, he's the boyfriend though, like, and he was weakened. Yeah. I thought he was gonna have to be the other guy to make a stand because he's the main character and be like, no, you know. Oh. And he kind of does, where he's like, oh, she's special to him in the same way that my stupid, pointless, idiot fucking friend who I'm happy didn't show up in these chapters is.
Yeah, I mean, it makes more sense that he compares her to Toka's human friend.
Yeah, that's true too. He says that, but it's like, but in that case, like that person really doesn't know who that ghoul stuff. So it's like, maybe when we get there, I'll burn it. But for now, I'll just kill this girl.
It's also just sort of psychologically interesting that the girlfriend is fine with him being.
Yeah, I like that. I like their relationship thing, and I was like
she just says, "Yeah, it's just chance that I was born a human and not a ghoul."
It's not like she goes out and helps him like get humans or something, you know. She's not like complicit in it, so I think that's fine actually. These chapters, you kind of described it as a bridge before the good stuff. It does kind of feel like a holding pattern. This does feel a bit like he got his early ideas out of the way. He's trying to figure out, okay, where I'm going to actually go with the plot.
Yeah, with the actual plot.
I'm a weekly mangaka. I should probably do something. Yeah.
I think whereas the last stretch we did excelled in the fight scenes and like the world building of like the society and the enforcers and stuff, this stretch the best scenes were all like character interactions, like interesting little bits of backstories, relationships between characters getting more fleshed out, the girl living with the other one and she draws a face on her belly. Like, that sort of stuff was like the best stuff here.
Honestly, the slice of life stuff is usually
it's strong.
The better stuff.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't have much more to say about this. I liked it, and I'm excited for the next stretch.
Yeah, we're starting finally into where the plot gets going.
Like, so you gave Soul Eater shit, but look, see.
No, like I gave both of them shit.
Well, you can't. You know what? You can't give. Oh yeah, go on. Damn it.
Yeah. I can't give Punpun shit, which I won't.
Don't steal my thunder for the segue.
You stole my joke earlier.
Yeah, wait, John. So it sounded like you were about to say something really compelling. Why don't you just run with that for a moment?
Okay. Go ahead.
Fuck! I was about to say something.
We'll wait.
No.
Anyways, Punpun.
Okay, awesome.
Green stamp.
Yeah.
Oh right. Yeah. What I was going to say is, fuck no.
he lets you down every time.
He's like Kaneki, man. He just can't do it. Joss, why don't you just eat some humans and stop being a bitch?
How can you talk about Punpun if you don't eat your meat?
Okay, I got it again. Just that Tokyo Ghoul, like the first Tokyo Ghoul manga in general, is not very plot-centric. That's basically all I was just going to say. Like, it's... Once Tokyo Ghoul really comes around, that's like more plot-centric, and it has like lots of recontextualization and impact on what actually happened in Tokyo Ghoul, but when you read just Tokyo Ghoul the first time, it's not as plot-heavy, like on first glance. But yeah, we are getting into the good stuff next time.
Woohoo!
Starting the good stuff.
I look forward to. I will say, if quality has been gently trending upward the whole time, so I feel good about next stretch.
It's good that was trending upward for you, because for me, like I read the first Tokyo Ghoul manga in 3 days, and I read like the first 60 something chapters in the first day, and when I reached this part, or when I had finished this arc, I was thinking, okay, maybe like I was even thinking of like dropping it, but I just kept reading, and then obviously all the good stuff happened, and yeah. It was a great decision. One of my favorite reading experiences ever.
I concur, good sir.
That's awesome.
With Punpun, before anything else, Michi, just for my curiosity, how far ahead of you of what we're talking about today are you in Punpun?
I am a tiny bit ahead, but not much. I know,
because when I saw where it ended, I thought there's 0% chance Michi actually put the book down when he got there.
I'm a bit farther into the, that relationship, but it's fine.
Stop. But we'll just talk about the so we're talking about the third volume of Punpun, where it goes from the collapse of his relationship with Aiko, well, non-relationship with Aiko, really.
With Aiko.
Yeah, the I don't know, 2-week period where they were friends,
where they
kind
held
of
hands and kissed, like.
Yeah,
once.
and then he got a boner and peed on her, and they escaped an explosion.
That's how most relationships start, to be fair.
Yeah, and this follows the fallout from that, and then gradually, and it covers Punpun being anxious and miserable as he realizes that she is dating someone, and then it transitions into the uncle.
Punpun has
2-year time skip.
Yeah, Punpun has become a neurotic middle schooler.
He has become Death, Destroyer of Worlds.
It's harder to justify his behavior as like a 13-year-old when like all he does is like mope around, think other people are bad, and jerk off. That's his life.
Punpun he has become a good road. At the tender age of, I don't know what, 10? How old is he even?
He's 11 in the first bit, and he's 13.
Okay, at the tender age of 13, he has already become a failed normie.
He's identical to me at 13 years old, is the sad part.
Michi was also a bird ghost monster.
I was! You should have met me. Look at the photographs.
Yeah. But yeah, he's trying to be normal and outwardly kind of maintaining the facade a little bit, but on the inside he's dying, man. He's not doing well. He's obsessed with the girl from 2 years ago who he hasn't talked to once.
Yeah, this whole time he's just been busting nuts to her, imagining there would be a relationship, and then it turns out in the meantime, she actually had a life and got a boyfriend.
With a monster dick.
With a monster mushroom dick. He's the most amazing middle schooler. He's fucked her 10 billion times. She's probably a whore now. Yeah, it's just become. Yeah. That's just it.
This volume takes you back in the worst fucking way.
And don't all of the Punpun.
Yes, but especially this.
The first one had like the charm. We mentioned like, oh, this is a great representation of what kids are like. Everything is like an adventure. Yeah, there's like porn mag stuff, and they're infiltrating dangerous places, but they're also just like going around doing silly dances and walks and having fun, and everything is the starry sky that they're gleaming up. And now everyone is just like an annoying fucking stupid teenager that talk about shit they don't know what the fuck they're talking about, and just bully each other, assume the worst. Yeah, assume the worst. They're all the zoom in to the galaxy of the kid's eye as he talks about how it's a fucking dog-eat-dog world. It's just like, god damn, I hate all these fucking
kids. Gets home, his mom made brownies.
Yeah. Oh god, that's the realest shit. Like when Punpun just gets to know the boyfriend and just realizes that he's just like a really nice, upstanding guy.
Yeah.
And he just wants to hate him and kill him.
This reminded me of shit that I had blacked out.
Yeah, same.
Because you know, every guy has a girl or girls they had a bizarre, unacknowledged crush on when they were young.
Yeah.
My freaking middle school crush, I don't even like to say, I haven't thought about this person in like fucking years, but my middle school crush later got together with and married someone that I had known in the school, who's like 6'4", rides a unicycle, is like handsome and funny and like really athletic. Oh yeah, no, he would ride a unicycle at school. It was the craziest thing.
Like, her. He spun around her in circles.
Well, this is like one of those guys that was like kind of goofy, but in a way that was just always fucking hit. Like everyone loved this dude. Yeah. Like super athletic, super handsome, tall, everything. And the worst part of all is like he was unfailingly kind to me in particular.
Yeah, I don't have that one-to-one of a nostalgia thing. One of
like the 5 people from my childhood school system who I have any fond memories of whatsoever, but was like always, I couldn't even call this person a friend, but just like was super fucking nice to me for no reason, lent me books, you know, would talk to me in the back of class. And then later, just through shenanigans and mutual friends, like webs of mutual friends I stayed in touch with, I met these people again, like in our early 20s, if that, or like we might have been like 19. And I was at the college they both went to, and like they just said, "Oh yeah, we're getting married," and I was over the crush. But then my brain like glitched for a second, and then I was like, "Oh God!" I hesitated to say, "Oh my God!" They think oh my God! I need the wrong read.
And that day, Green's heart shrunk 3 sizes.
I know. I have this volume fucking traumatized me because it reminded me of shit that I had forgotten years ago. Well, it's like, oh no, I was Punpun.
It's annoying because like seeing the girl you like with someone else is like a top shelf kind of hell. Like it's a special reserve kind of hell. That especially, you know, obviously the good thing for Punpun who's only with her for like knew her for a few weeks, months of his childhood, thankfully.
And he's still fucked up.
He's 13, so it's still gonna hurt him a lot. And it's like, yeah, I feel bad for him, no matter how much of a shit he's being. Obviously, it's like.
Yeah,
it's just
because
poor kid.
That age, like when you're introduced to like those feelings at that age, that's the hardest, you know, zero-sum, life is not fair.
Yeah, like 13 to 15
like, there's
is
no
like
solving that.
It's so fucking hard because you're just at your most vulnerable, hormonal, awkward period. And yeah, having dumb, like terrible shit happen in your life, like your fucking dad leaving and your girl dating someone else, and well, not your girl obviously, but the girl you're into, dating someone else, and all this stuff happening. It's like that stuff can be hard to deal with when you're like 16 or 17, let alone fucking 13. It's like fuck.
God spends the entire chapter telling Punpun to kill him.
I was gonna mention that. That's perfect arc of him getting older. It's like when he's a child, God is this magical thing that sometimes gives confusing, vague answers. But we've just lost the facade of it being anything magical, and God is obviously just Punpun's like self-conscious telling him what he wants to hear now. Like God just tells like, oh, he's probably a piece of shit who's mistreating her. He's corrupting her. You need to fucking deal with this guy. He's tricking you. Like kill him, go for the eyes, shoot him, shoot him now.
Like, he's not looking. Attack before he turns around.
Attack! He's like, oh, we gotta fucking woodwork the top of this shit. And Punpun just like has to. I like how Punpun doesn't reply to him. He just like that's just his internal monologue now. Is God telling him to kill this piece of shit? He's handing him drinks. Beautiful. Oh, it's beautiful. I love the little moments. I love how he fucking pretends to buy he's gonna buy the Panty Shot magazine, and then he buys Business Weekly. The other guy's like, "You must be pretty clever, huh?" And he's like, Punpun did it. He's like congratulating himself, like that was pretty smooth of me. And then he dodges his dick when he turns around. And he's like, "Yes, well done, Punpun. You dodged getting stabbed when he turned around." It's like he's congratulating himself on the most inane, pointless bullshit.
It's just good.
It also shows the sweeter side of Punpun, because even while he is internally going kill him, strike now, cut his balls off, he's still kind of trying to do the right thing, or he's getting caught up in sympathy, because then he tries to help the guy that's dating Aiko as well.
I think what it is that like because he's 13, he's become a teenager. Punpun has happened upon his first like really adult emotion, because all the other things were childish. Even just his sexual things were childish, like feeling sad, feeling happy, feeling angry. But like the learning to take joy and wallow in your own self-pity the way he does, like when he's smiling, when he's like grasping onto the wall, and when he's like fooling himself, like those are distinctly huge. That's like a leveled up like adult emotion that he has incorporated into himself, and that's not good. Like him like when he's rationalizing, like, oh yeah, she probably must have just become short-sighted in the time when we haven't seen each other, and that's why she didn't acknowledge me. It's like, yeah, that's some advanced like denial you've got there, Punpun. That's great. You really have grown up. He really is growing up.
Another like really accurate scene, I think, is the one where the other like children make fun of Aiko, and he just joins in with his fake laughter.
Exactly. That's like these are like advanced, like warp. He started to develop like ugly emotions. They aren't just the purity of anything of childhood. They're telling him, the god calls him a fucking coward for it. Oh, that's great.
What is this picture, by the way?
Yeah,
is this
I was confused about that. I assumed he was gonna smack them in the back of the head with the bat as like a punishment. So
yeah, I think this is like meditation teaching, and if the mentor or whatever you want to call it notices
we can check Reddit. I might be wrong, but I believe in the Zen tradition of Buddhism. While meditating, some practitioners, good job, Joe, become unfocused or otherwise distracted. So there's a dude, presumably a Zen master, who will walk around those meditating and provide a swift smack to those who need a readjustment. Yeah, give him a little bonk.
Okay. Little bonk.
I mean, still not one-to-one clear what you mean. That was his reaction to learning that the guy really was dating Aiko.
Yeah, maybe he just got a smack, basically.
Well, he's trying to induce mental fortitude in himself.
He's trying to remain, calm, while this shit he should be freaking out. Yeah.
Because if he achieves enlightenment real quick, it'll make the situation easier.
Simply achieve enlightenment. Yeah. I like those panels where he's kissing the back of his own head because his pouty mouth is stretching out so far. Yeah. And then he an uncle bought him choco pies to make him feel better.
He's gonna need them.
Yeah, he's been spending a lot of time in the back. I love that panel where they cut. He's like, "Where is Punpun?" And his face is underwater, and he's going gurgle, 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 and he's saying, "Oh, the text I read, he was saying curses, 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 curses over and over again in the bath."
And it's funny that the uncle says the same exact thing later on.
Yeah. I think I got to that.
Well, the uncle has obviously Punpun has obviously gotten a lot of bad habits from the uncle.
Yeah. Well, the uncle, it's sad because the uncle is like still the nicest guy in his life, but he's like very negligent. Like he will just tell Punpun things that will affect him greatly, and then and to him it was just like an offhand remark. Like earlier
then
on,
bringing back Tinkle Hoy was
Tinkle Hoy.
Yeah.
We even get like an update on it that like it wasn't the uncle that came up with it; it was the girl, and then the uncle told it to Punpun.
Yeah, he's just like a. Yeah, he just fucking steals shit.
That's so fucking real too. It's strange how like you'll pick up a thing from a thing from a thing. Like people accidentally pass on things to each other through each other that they never know about. Like even I was thinking about what I was thinking about when I saw this. You know how. I mean, maybe this is embarrassing and I shouldn't say, but a certain song by a certain band has been added to your repertoire.
Yes. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, my former best friend who hates me now, well, I should probably be more specific. My former best friend from high school who hates me. Wait, fuck. My former best friend who isn't a woman now who hates me now. Fuck. My former best friend who isn't a woman or a trans woman who hates me now.
You just like Punpun because it's your life.
But he really, before he went to Brussels to be a COVID person.
COVID person?
He's
a COVID person.
Don't fucking worry about it. But, you know, before he became a fucking biochemical database guy in Europe, he showed me that song and he really liked it. And that inadvertently got passed to you.
Yeah,
I only knew about that song because of him, and now you have that.
That's how memes work. But
yeah.
I mean, the funnier one is stuff that you pass on to someone and don't remember, like Tinkle Hoy. Like Graham, there was like stuff that you told me or recommended to me, and then I brought it up later, and you were like, "What? I don't remember that." And I was like, "No, you."
I would never recommend something.
Yeah.
I love the uncle so much.
I love the uncle, dude.
The more you learn about how fucked up he is, like the more human he becomes.
That was like a genius. That was my favorite like intro to a chapter, was him working at the part-time place, and he's chatting with a coworker. And it begins bizarrely with like the coworker talking about getting his girlfriend pregnant, but then it's like all scenario he imagined in his head because he doesn't even have a girlfriend. And then he's like, I'm trying to remember. He's like, "Oh, life isn't about being fun. It's about atonement to me now." And the guy's like, "I think I'm going to use that on my next date." And he's like, "Go ahead." And then he gets out. He's like, "To hell with love." It's not a scooter.
I mean, that.
The one thing that hit me is when the guy asked, "How old are you now?" And he says, 33.
Yeah, and I was like, he's so old, lol, right, guys? Anyway.
I was like, I have 2 years, yes! Sorry, Jaws, it's over.
Well, Green, the panel that made me think of you, and I was like, oh, Green totally loves that panel, I'm sure. It's like, no, I think Green has quoted that, like, when he was jerking off in the living room, he's like, a guy like me isn't made for falling in love. I was like, yeah, that's totally Green. Yeah, that's gotta be it.
It's so fucking bad. I mean, it's weird. I mean, we haven't quite gotten to the other shoe dropping on the uncle's story. We'll save that for next time. But it's pretty obvious, you know, what direction it's going now. It was almost supernatural when I first read. When I first read Punpun, you know, like I don't know, 3 years ago or something, when the uncle came up, not at this point in the story, but basically within a chapter or two of him showing up, I immediately had his number. when he showed up, it was almost supernatural. I just knew this guy is running from something. This guy did something fucked up. Each stage got a little less certain, but I still believed it. He's running from something. He's running from something he did. I think he's running from something sexual, and it probably involved a younger person. Like, all 4 of those were in my head, like, within 2 chapters of him appearing. And I was completely fucking right. And I'm a genius. Or alternatively, I've just read manga before, and there were signs. And alternatively, maybe this is just a type of person that exists in reality, and there were signs there. But, yeah.
Man, it's It's fucked up. But I like how the uncle clearly he does come off as like not very good with women, but they do it like in a clever. Okay, but like I like how they do it in a clever way where he's like kind of a jerk. Even when the girl is coming on to him, he's still like obviously she's like making mistakes and stuff, but he just like he doesn't like he's not totally like nice about it. Like he's still like, yeah, man, you really are clumsy bitch, aren't you? Like he's like, oh yeah, my book did get fucked up, but you know whatever. And then
the uncle's very self-aware.
Yeah, she brings him like the iced coffee. He's like, I didn't order iced coffee. You really are bad at your job, aren't you? He's like, no, I'm trying to do a thing. And he's like,
yeah.
Oh.
He says something like, it's February. Why would I want an iced coffee?
Yeah.
That's the most amazing wordless page. He reads the note, and then it's just him turning his face in like the most intense panel and stares at her ass. That's it. That's how the chapter ends. He's like, sees the note. She's like, want to go out for a date? Immediately just looks at her ass like he's checking. I don't know, at least your ass.
She has done before.
Yes.
The uncle he's a problem.
No. sits at the vending machine that Punpun was at and smokes a cigarette. It's like, yeah. You idiot! He thinks to himself.
Yeah, because Punpun was drinking the coffee. He's like, I don't like it, but I feel I'm growing blacker inside.
His emotions were growing, more sour.
And the uncle fire is building inside him.
That's
maybe. I don't know.
That's like a genius bit where she's like, why are you being nice to me today? He's like, I'm always nice. I'm like, yeah, people who are nice don't say that. So he's like, you get the idea. He like tries to act nice, but inside he's just like is calling everyone a piece of shit all the time. Like he has that like thing where he sees the mom's armpit hair and says die. Armpit hairs die.
Yeah, he strikes like amazing balance between being an outwardly mean person who's secretly nice and being an outwardly nice person who's secretly mean.
Yeah. Well, he just feels like completely like a real guy, just like people are like that, like a guy you would know who kind of like loses composure and snaps and is kind of, whenever something hard happens, he doesn't really know how to handle it, but for the most part, he's kind of cool. You can hang out with him, I guess. I like how the lawyer was kind of like shoving him away. Like I get the feeling that the lawyer doesn't want to be friends with him anymore.
Yeah, that's a little sad.
Yeah, it's a bit sad, but whatever. I don't really feel that bad. I mean, if you don't want to associate with the uncle, that's fine.
The lawyer, I mean, the uncle probably, he's probably going to he probably needs to know a lawyer at some point. I mean,
I got the feeling that even when he was like, a few chapters ago, when he was like, oh, you're the only friend I had, I always got the feeling that the lawyer didn't really want to be his friend. He just kept pestering him because he had his number and he felt it was impolite to say no when he asked to go out for coffee with him. And now he's started to finally be like, okay, enough. Like, I don't really want to hang out with you. I was just kind of being nice.
2 years later.
Yeah, 2 years later. And it's like, Japanese people would be like very polite about that and not be like, fuck off. I don't really want to,
yeah. Oh, yeah. A lot of good Aiko faces.
Oh, yeah.
Or her not showing up very much.
I like middle school Aiko a lot. She doesn't have the gap in her teeth. She seems cute.
Punpun's a lumpy penis.
Yeah, he has like a lumpy, like blushy face. Imagine turning around from having like. Also, she was crying because she was the guy had mentioned Punpun to her. Yeah. And then she turns around and sees this gormless fucking face. And then he just rolls around on the floor going, like people looking at him. Oh, what a fucking idiot. That's sad. That's a great panel when the boyfriend turns around and is like, do you think I'm pathetic for being happy by making her happy? And Punpun just like stands there. Yeah. Punpun just can't say shit. Like he's just flabbergasted by this nice person. He just stands there being an idiot. Then finally, like, I will protect Aiko. Like based on nothing. Based on absolutely nothing.
And Punpun is surrounded by a field of rakes, where anything he does, he's gonna feel bad about it later. Like there's no win-win. It's the Kobayashi Maru.
That's the most. I keep saying everything is the most brilliant thing ever because it is. But like when the guy leaves and he after his challenge, and Punpun sees the can and he kicks it with all his might, and I'm like, yeah, Punpun, that'll show him. Yeah, he's really just like that's like the most he can do to assert any kind of like courage or like
at
balls.
least
it's realistic.
He
again.
managed to tell him that he likes Aiko, so he
yeah.
did at least.
Yeah,
okay.
I mean, I wouldn't be able to have done anything at that age or at this age. It's really hard not to be pathetic in every single interaction or outcome. So yeah.
I know.
It's really easy to tie your scarf real tight and just not say anything.
You ever feel like it comes and goes in waves? Like I feel more pathetic now than I did like 3 years ago.
At certain points, I feel like I can do stuff, but I can't control when I'm going to be in that state. So it's very unreliable. Like that's the thing. Punpun feels like he's coming across like someone who is like an actual decent, like a main character almost. Like he's a good-looking. Good at
starting a
sports, really nice person who can have a relationship and is much more confident than him. And Punpun is a fucking retarded bird penis. He's like, I don't think I can really live up to it, but fuck it, I'm gonna try anyway.
It'd be funny if this kid was like, man, and also it's hard because my parents just love me so much. I really need to spend time with them too.
Well,
and
I may through like divine. I think I had like a vision from a god that told me what happens with their whole competition at the end and Aiko. And that was real. That really was heart wrenching when Punpun was like told Aiko to go be with someone. Yeah, that was messed up. But anyway, the uncle is cool. I like the girl. I like how she's a klutz and fucks everything up. That's the most brilliant thing when she's like being cute to him at the karaoke, and the whole time he's like, "What is your objective, wench? Tell me your secrets. I know you're up to something. Oh, real clever move. Giving me a smile." And he's like in the bathroom, like screaming. Ah!
He's been wallowing in self-hatred for so long that he's terrified to let go of it for a second.
He just can't even conceive that a human would just be like nice. I mean, in a way, he's dealing with what Punpun is dealing with, like the jock guy, whatever, not really a jock, but the team captain guy is being nice to him, and Punpun is like, no way, he must be up to something. No way could this guy be nice.
Yeah,
and
he's been raping Aiko.
He's been raping her.
2 years.
He's been prostituting her out to the neighborhood.
Pimping her out.
Pimping her out.
13-year-old pimp.
He probably beats her. I need to protect her from his huge dick. And the uncle is also like, no way this 25-year-old being interested in a 33-year-old. That's fucking impossible. She's planning to fucking trick me.
Yeah. Wait, Jaws, please confirm this. Like, do 25-year-olds start showing up, or like, when can I look forward to that?
What?
Nothing.
He's just saying that because you're 33, so he's expecting maybe any.
I'm 32.
If Jaws, you are.
Well, you're close. I thought you were making fun of him. We need
I just made Jaws reveal his age on stream. I'm a genius.
Damn.
Well, if Jaws ever goes to a cafe, maybe the 25-year-old girl will really put a note on his coaster.
No, I get what you mean. Okay.
Yeah.
Also, the mom continues to be terrible. Screw her.
Yeah, lies about her job.
Lies about everything.
I manage an apartment building in the next town over.
Why is that kid so gloomy? I'm gonna sleep naked on the couch or something. And then Dad sends. He's like, that was a funny line. He's like, it was the usual, normal stuff about football in the universe. Yeah. And then his dad always ends with, "I love you." Also, it's funny how his dad became a security guard. Like that was also. I know multiple people who like their deadbeat dads just become security guards after they leave or get fired from their real jobs.
Hey, I used to be a security guard.
It's an easy job to get if you're just like a large man.
Hey, exactly.
Large like burly. God damn.
Yeah. Okay.
I knew someone who also worked like as a night guardian, like for people who are like depressed and whose sleep cycle is like messed up. They also just tend to get jobs like that.
It is weird how like policemen, prison guards, security guards, bodyguards tend to be like people who ain't doing so well psychologically. Isn't that a thing?
Yeah.
It's almost like you can't really get normal people to want to beat up people for a job or something.
Yeah, man. I could tell some stories.
So I'm going home. What?
Yeah, and then when she's asking him out, he's like, "You want nothing to do with me. I'm disgusting. I'm the worst man in the world. I'm despicable.
You should not associate with. It's dangerous to associate with me.
I have no value. I jerked off today.
Jerked off in the living room
for the first time in 5 years.
All the sound on. Yeah.
Which implies that he jerked off because of her.
Oh yeah, he totally did. He like looked at her ass and then jerked off. He's
afraid of his own dick. I'm not even touching that thing.
That thing is cursed and evil, and I want nothing to do with it.
Not wrong.
I was really expecting the mom or Punpun to walk in on him jerking off in that scene. Thank God it didn't happen.
If he's anything like I think he is, he has 7 padlocks on his door.
Yeah. No, but he was in the living room.
Quiet.
He was in the living room.
Oh, fuck,
yeah,
right.
In front of the TV.
Oh, I thought he just had a really big bedroom.
No, that was the same, like, around where the kids danced for the Psychopath song. Yeah. I don't understand.
Do you like how they open with all the kids having their own thing now? They've all kind of branched off into different personalities.
I like how the kid lies about not being able to see the gods because he's kind of just become cleverer about that. He still sees them. Yeah, that was fucked up how the kid got beat up because he's traumatized by fire. It's
that's like really cool.
Yeah. Oh, it's also cute that Punpun, part of the reason why he likes the boyfriend a bit, other than him just being a very nice guy, is that he reminded him of his friend who left 2 years ago.
Yeah.
I also love, not to bring up Muramasa constantly every day of my life because it's the best thing ever.
That's fine.
But that diatribe that God had with him about how, not everyone can be happy and your happiness has to come at the cost of everyone else's, even if you try to be nice. That was very Muramasa. Like that, that's almost like verbatim expressed in Muramasa at a certain point. Where just like there is no being nice, and you can't just shut yourself off, and you're always going to end up hurting people no matter what you do.
I think that's also a Japanese thing because I'm pretty sure I think Three Gods who says that. I've heard that in multiple anime and manga.
That's a very, I'm sure it must be Buddhist in origin. Like that sounds like Buddhism, just being like
in a way it
balance,
also shows up
yin yang sort of stuff too. I know that's Taoism, but whatever. It
might be Buddhist and
well, I'm sure there must be some Buddhist thing about just being like, listen, you're being happy, that is also kind of not that great because it might come at the expense of other people's things.
I suspect so. Yeah, man. Is there anything else to say? It's just Punpun's good.
Punpun is good, and the uncle might have some issues. I think that's my big takeaway. Yeah, he might have some issues.
Let's dig into the uncle. Is it weird to you guys how the uncle is so the uncle is so likable and sympathetic despite all the problems and despite all the shitty things that we're getting into?
I'm always very. I tend to be like lenient. Like I'm happy to call people pieces of shit, but I don't think that's as big a deal as a lot of people do. Like I think that's kind of I think that's very common, and I think it's great to strive to be more than that, but it shouldn't be taught that that's the norm. Like it should be understood that that's an exceptional thing and that it's quite rare, and most people do things that they shouldn't do and are weak at heart and can't deal with a lot of things that come their way.
Yeah, it's like in the scheme of a human life, it's not like he's even done anything that bad.
That's what I feel sympathy for a lot for him. I think a lot of people who never end up doing anything really regretful are people who just happen to not have had the opportunity to do regretful things in their life. Like I think a lot of people have very monotonous kind of sheltered lives that don't leave room for a lot of bad things to happen, tend to then grow into old age relatively having a kind of frictionless if boring and hardworking life. I don't know.
You're reminding me of when Tiger Woods was caught cheating. That was the big joke all the comedians told.
That golf is boring.
But yeah, the golf golf is boring. 2, what race is Tiger? No one's figured it out yet. Also, and then 3, Tiger fucked 30 women but could have fucked 30,000, and then people who got 0 chances to cheat in their entire life are giving him shit, and it's like,
it's the cover drawing of him walking through the crowd of people. I don't know why it's cut off like that. There it is.
I mean, that is a weird thing. That is a weird thing about like, there are so many people where, when I have this thought, like you're just saying, I don't know if I'm being. Oh, I hope I don't lose electricity. When I have this. God damn it, I got lost for a second. But it does seem like a lot of people, their life is just on rails almost from beginning to end.
Yeah.
And they don't experience a lot of strange twists and turns in their life. And I feel bad saying that, because you're supposed to be like, oh, every life is an epic and everyone has this rich inner universe you're not privy to. And but then there are a lot of people that just kind of watch TV, go to work, and then take vacations twice a year, and they do that for 50 years, and then they die.
Like, for example, I would say that's why, like, city life is associated more with debauchery and things like that. It's because, like, if you compare someone growing up in the countryside in a very tight-knit community, they could go their whole life without having anything, like, really wrong happen or bad, you know? Whereas that is, the more you go into environments that are more complicated and have more people and have more structures in them, you know, like there's a lot of fucked up stuff happening in most cities that they breed a lot of like hostility and crime and things like that. Like you're heightening your chances of coming in contact with something which could throw your life into a weird arc, you know, that is harder to... It's harder to avoid that stuff when you're living in the kind of place that Punpun is, for example, and societies that they are. Like, I don't know. I feel like I think it's great to strive for all those good values and morals and things, but also there's a reason why like saints are. There's like a word for them. You know, we don't call saints like normal people. It's tricky to face like hardships and not be warped by them somehow. And if you're just a lonely guy like the uncle is, it's gonna be tough not to do some weird shit. But yeah, obviously I'm not saying he's right in doing things he's doing. I'm just saying I don't hate him for any of it.
Yeah, it's also, I mean, we haven't talked about the girl, but even like if she's like another character that's like super fucked up, and has a super fucked up life, when we see the rope burns on her arm and other shit. It's just like such a weird image with Punpun because of the beak and the mouth.
Yeah, well, yeah, he does a combined one. I mean, it's on the thumbnail, but he does like a little smile coming from his beak in this, where he's like grabbing onto the wall, and he's just like pretending he didn't see anything. And that's the one I referenced the other time with him jumping over the fence. I love that. Ka-cha! Perfect landing.
I was being light-handed with the girl who appears in the flashback, because I was specifically trying not to dive ahead.
Yeah, we should get more into that next time, so we don't. But,
but
I guess a little bit about it.
Yeah, I can just lightly say, yeah, she seems to have problems.
Well,
I mean, she says some
broadening
really
statements, but I don't think a lot of 16-year-olds who get in relationships with older men are usually like, usually okay up there. I think usually they have something going wrong in their life to make that.
Not okay down there either. Know what I'm saying? Yeah, horrifying comment.
It was hell.
It was hell. Oh God, I feel so bad for Punpun.
I remember there was another quote that I wanted to remember from here that was really good.
It's because Punpun he's reaching that age where he's starting to really understand how not ideal his situation is compared to other things. Because when you're a kid, like Punpun was just barely figuring out that something was wrong a few years ago.
Yes.
In the first volumes.
Like when he figured out that his dad was really leaving when they were like,
but now we're getting to the part where his shitty life, he's gotten old enough that he's displacing all his hopes onto other things, where he's clinging to Aiko as this vision of perfection, and it's being sullied. It's being sullied with badminton guy's giant penis and his cum, and him kissing her, and her hating Punpun, and it's like it's just like a special type of pain when you are like that age and you're realizing like, oh yeah, this ideal vision of how things should be that you have in your head. Life is just having that be like pissed and came on forever until you die. It's just a hard realization because like he's coming out of life sucks and he thought he saw this light at the end of the tunnel for a moment, and then it's like, nope, that's gone too. Get fucked. Semen. Semen.
Oh, yeah.
Man.
Punpun.
It's hard not to repeat yourself. Punpun's just.
I know. It's just that's just a headspace. Well, it's just what makes Punpun really great is the sheer amount of stories that don't acknowledge these things. Like,
yeah,
that's the real deal. Like, these are things that so many people feel all the time, and it's rare to see them expressed in a way that lets you connect to them in yourself so evidently. Because no one's going to sit there and reminisce about these things of their own accord because they're usually painful. So reading something like Punpun and that bringing up all these, like, all this angst and memories and nostalgia is like a rare occasion and makes you really like Punpun.
It's all those 10 p.m. flashbacks of cringy shit you did as a kid, but in manga form.
3 a.m.
It's, yeah, like, it's like the opposite of soul food. Or comfort, like manga. It's like
what do you drink?
It's not an Inuyasha. It's not a healing anime. It's a hurting anime. It opens old wounds that you had gotten over. You thought
this is my comfort turpentine. Like it's. But it hurts so good, I guess, is what the best thing I can say about Punpun. Exactly. Yeah. Oh boy, I think I've said everything I want to say about it.
Yeah, it's pain. Life is pain. We should all die tomorrow.
Great. And
there's no escape.
Yeah, and Inyo Asano is a genius for being able to just every part of it is perfect. There is no friction. It's just. Yeah. He's just beaming these feelings directly into your brain, and you're like, please stop, Mr. Asano. And he's like, no.
Yeah, stop. I have diarrhea.
I have diarrhea. I need to go. That's a good way to put it.
That should have been the closing words for the stream.
It should be. Yeah. It is, yeah. In fact, I'm going to do that. Should I do that?